Good. Welcome back to another beautiful hour right here with yours truly, Lady Tracey. And we have with us a beautiful girl. She is indeed not a stranger, but this has been her second time with us. We often call them our family because, of course, she is no stranger. So we are here with our retired veteran, and now she is a book author after her experience, her trauma, her testimony of life itself. She's here with a new release in addition to something new, but I will have her share in her own words. We welcome no other than beautiful Mattie Leonard over there in USA. We welcome you back, Lady Leonard. How are you doing today?
Hello, I'm doing fine. I'm so glad to be here.
It's amazing to have you for a second time. And I'm just thankful for the privilege to be a part of this beautiful work, this project that you have on the market, including your last release, your first release, Building Me Brick by Brick. And I would like to hear, before we get to, the silent cry, can you tell us a little bit about what's been happening, with you since the last time we spoke?
Well, since the last time we spoke, I've written, you know about Building Me Back Brick by Brick, about my struggle with addiction and how I got to a point of recovery. But since then, I have written Silent Cry, which is this one here, which is about my journey through domestic violence and abuse. And I talk about from the beginning when I was a child and what happened to me then. And as I grew up, I found that domestic violence began to be a pattern for me, that I would select people that would conduct themselves that way. And so I had to look inside of me, and I ended up writing this book. So it's like a journey. And that's why I say it's my journey through domestic violence and abuse.
Amazing. Thank you so much. And I love the fact that you're so transparent with your experience to really help our women out there, and those who really need your kind of testimony, because, it's not an easy thing to really share, most certainly to write. So to really put your testimony out there, I know for sure that it is a profit, a gain and a profit to those who need it, especially to our broken communities. Now, let's get to Silent Cry, because this is also a bit, just the title itself is a bit, broken. You can tell that it's not something that will be easy to share. And I noticed the cover is this lovely lady, but she's crying. So it's kind of like something I am expecting, as you said, your second project, and of course part two. It's like your part two, but let's hear Silent Cry. What's this one about?
Well, Silent Cry is about my journey through domestic violence and abuse. I dealt with many types of abuse. I dealt with sexual coercion as a young child. I was raped in my teens, and I dealt with somebody that stalked me for a while, and he ended up going to jail for 18 months. I dealt with the rape when I was in my drug addiction, um, and and I dealt with two abusive husbands. So it's my journey through domestic violence and abuse, what I had to go through, what I went through. I didn't have to go through that, but what I went through um, as my life continued to grow and shape itself. And I noticed how I was seeking these type of people because I had abandonment issues, I had resentments, I had loneliness in me, staring back to when my father left. And so I looked for people um, that were attentive to me and that gave me a lot of attention, and that attention turned into something more. It turned into control, and it turned into sometimes even belittling me, making me feel less than. And so I talk about the different types of domestic abuse that I dealt with in my life. And so it's a computation of different stories in this book, in Silent Cry, but
Wow.
my story.
This is touching. Thank you so much for sharing. I have heard many stories, but if a person like yourself can really make it through to divorce, rape, plus your personal, experience with a stalker, and I'm sure that's not all, and still come up to this place where you can share your testimony, encourage someone else and still keep going. I think this is great courage, and it really takes a lot of guts. Now, for those who don't know, we did mention it that you are a retired veteran, and I can tell that someone was also been in the defense force. I believe that this could probably be one of the strengths in what really guided you through. But can you just tell us what was your greatest support through all of this in recovering and getting up, getting back on your feet after all of this?
When I was in the military, I had a purpose, I had a goal that I was, advancing in the ranks. Even though I was living, two of my marriages was while I was in the military. So, you didn't speak of uh, any kind of abuse or anything. You didn't speak of it. And also, in my last husband, he was very like competitive as I went up the ranks. And he didn't. The marriage was more volatile, because he couldn't understand how I could be achieving something and he wasn't achieving. So he talked down to me. He treated me just really bad. And I had to go through that. And I didn't dare tell my supervisor or anybody because, well, for one, I outranked him. For two, I didn't want anybody to know that I was going through that. To me it looked like I was weak, and that shame and that guilt overrode everything. But I ended up getting a divorce because, he ended up getting another woman in the church pregnant. And that's how I was able to get out of that relationship, because he took his attention to someone else. And my first husband, he went AWOL from the military. So I got a divorce through abandonment. And that's how I was able to get out of that abusive situation. But for that stalking situation that I went through, I had to go to the police. And finally, I knew that I had a voice, that I could speak up and tell them what was going on. And at first, they were like, well, he hasn't did nothing harmful to you. He hasn't hurt you. He hasn't threatened you. But then later, his text messages began to be threatening. And that's when they took a look at it. And yeah, so I write about that in my story, how he took my dog and threw her off the balcony when I wasn't home and left with the dog. I never seen the dog again. He would just do crazy stuff. He would follow me, and it was horrible. I was so scared for my life. I was more scared than I was in those relationships, because I didn't know how to measure him. I didn't know how to predict what he was going to do. He was just out of control. And so I talk about that in Silent Cry, about that journey as well. And like I said, he ended up going to jail for 18 months for stalking. And I asked the military to move so that I could be overseas somewhere where he couldn't get at me. And that's how I ended up in Turkey. So the military was a great help in all my situations. They helped me move out of my ex-husband's house. When I had came home one day and he had my suitcases, mine and my daughter's suitcase, sitting outside, and he had changed the locks. I ended up going to a shelter for a week. And the military helped me get housing, and but I wouldn't have had that support or that help hadn't I been in the military. So the military was a great support. My daughter was small, so she she just had to go with the flow with me, and I just tried to get myself back together and keep moving towards the choice that I made to be in the military.
Wow, wow, wow. Thank you so, so much. And let me say that you are doing just great. I believe that many who are watching, who have seen your testimony, who have seen your struggles, I'm sure that many are thankful and are proud that you have overcame so many things at once, and also, getting this courage that we're seeing today. Thank you personally for the privilege to really get this much from your experience thus far. Now, let me ask you, Mattie, this book, Silent Cry, what was or what is your vision for this book? Like, what's the main goal that you wish to attain from this brokenness that you have put together in this book for those who really will read it? What's your goal for Silent Cry?
My goal for Silent Cry is to reach people and let them know that they're not alone, that they can speak up, they can get out. And because I talk about different scenarios, different types of violence and abuse in my book, I think I've touched a lot of different people, and they can understand that, we have the choice to be with whomever we want to. We can set boundaries. We need to set boundaries for ourselves and not accept just any type of relationship, and especially not one that's controlling or coercing or manipulative. Those things we need to learn to see those red flags and get out of there. There were red flags in these situations that I ignored. And I'm hoping that in this book, a person will begin to look at those red flags and acknowledge them and say, okay, it's not going to get any better. It's going to get worse. And it could even cause my death. And hopefully this book will show people that we can choose the people that we want in our lives. We don't have to settle. We don't have to tolerate. And also, this book will help those who don't understand somebody that's been through domestic violence and abuse and want to help someone. It's just like an addiction. The person can't get help until they make up in their mind that they're ready to get out and to stop and to get help. And a lot of times people wonder why they stay, and that's because their self-esteem is low, that they think that that's the only way they can survive. And but it's not. Life does go on. Maybe you have to start over. It's okay. Starting over is good. But like I said, watch out for those red flags, and pay attention to the intuition that's inside of us. We don't lie to ourselves. So listening to that voice that tells us this ain't right, or he's calling me too much, or he's too much. Oh, he's asking me, where am I going? Where have I been? Who was I with? All those, that's not normal. That's not normal relationship material. And we have to be able to circumvent that from our lives. And that's what I hope this book will do, will bring attention to the fact that we have control on who we choose and who we choose to stay with. And if we want a change, we have to be the change.
Thank you so much. Just amazing. Well said. Thank you. Thank you so much. Now, if persons would like to get any of your books, for the interest of time, where can they go to get it, and what's the cost for your book?
Okay, for Silent Cry and Building Me Back Brick by Brick, both of them are on Amazon, Barnes and Nobles, Google Reads, most of the Kindle websites. You can also on Amazon look up Mattie Leonard, Mattie, Leonard, Leonard, and my books will come up. Silent Cry is 1077. That's with text on it. And I'm just excited. I'm just excited that I was able to write it down, and reliving it also pointed out some things within me that I needed to change. So yes, and also my website, www.mattieleonard.com, or you can connect with me on my Facebook. It's Mattie.e.leonard.
Okay, amazing. Thank you so much, Mattie. And is there anyone you'd like to acknowledge for this beautiful work that you have been on so far?
Just my family. My family's been really supportive of me. They've been through most of what I went through, especially my daughter. I really want to thank her for being strong and being of encouragement, and it helped me to want to do better.
Amazing. And we want to thank you for being a beautiful support and also giving us the opportunity to hear about your awesome projects that have been on. Thank you so much, Mattie. Continue to have a beautiful one, and we look forward to hear more from you in the near future.
Thank you. So glad to be.
All right. All right. Amazing.